Nearly every segment of the Nigerian economy and investment market is going through the current tough reforms agenda of the government. And one of the areas that is less focused on is family wealth. Walking me through how the segment of the economy has been faring and what strategies to be deployed is the Chief Operations Officer at Meristem Family Office, Kemi Ojenike. Thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Interesting. How much impact is the present economic environment having on family wealth, business and investments?
My goodness, it's been quite a time, and families are not spared. Family wealth has certainly been impacted. Families are feeling the strain from the reduced purchasing power to the strain in businesses, family businesses, and it's quite a challenging time. But what we see is that there's also a significant opportunity for families to position for long-term wealth. And because of what is going on, there's a lot of ingenuity that is required. And what we are recommending for families is to first of all review their investment strategies. What's the structure that they have on ground? Because whether we like it or not, every family has a structure. After that is done, it's important that they diversify. And while we typically think of diversification as, spreading assets across different classes, it's now critical for families to diversify in terms of focusing on their intangible wealth. And this is a strategy that is critical to sustain the wealth-creating ability of the family.
Intangible assets?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Intangible.
Let me break it down.
Okay. So typically, when we think of assets, when we think of wealth, we're thinking of money. And that is understandable because money is easy to measure. It is tangible.
Yeah, it is fluid.
It's
in
fluid.
my pocket.
Exactly.
It's in the bank account.
Exactly. It's easy. Naira and kobo, numbers are easy to track.
Or perhaps USD.
Well, there's also that.
Go ahead. Okay.
However,
yes,
we understand that in building wealth, particularly lasting wealth, there is more to it than just the financial capital. Because if you think about it at the most basic level, where money is concerned, decisions have to be made. Individuals make those decisions, and those individuals are typically influenced by certain things. So their thought process, their biases, their views on life, those things have a more critical role than we realize. And so what we're telling families are, beyond focusing on how to preserve your money, the wealth-creating ability of your family is crucial. For instance, the structure within your family, the ability to innovate, to think, to solve problems, those are the things that will help to build resilience. Because markets are in cycles. Things are challenging now. It will turn at some point. But how can you ensure that when that turn happens, you are positioned? And how can you ensure that even if there is some loss that is experienced at this time, your family has the ability to recover and continue to create or repeat what was successful in the past?
Now you're sitting down with your family office and you're talking to folks. What are you learning right now?
We're learning.
What are you hearing?
One thing that we're seeing is that there is a wealth transfer that is going on, and it's backed by data, right? In the next 25 years or so, we're seeing a shift where about $87 trillion in assets are moving from one generation to the other. Now, this creates...
Is that globally?
Globally, okay. Yes. And we see that in Nigeria as well, because we see a generation that is already thinking about transfer, thinking about moving on to the next generation, moving their businesses, their assets. But they are facing very unique, peculiar challenges because there's the question of preparation, right? Are the next generation ready to take on these assets? There's also the question of trust. Do they believe that the next generation is able to continue what they've started?
Or would even want to continue of that family business?
That is another significant issue, a lot of disinterest. With globally dispersed families now, heirs are saying, I do not want to be part of this. I do not want to come back to Nigeria.
Yeah, I don't want to live in a palace.
I don't want to manage the business. I want to do my own thing. And so that is a peculiarity that families must deliberately deal with.
And these are billions of dollars that those who built it would want to see move on to another generation.
Exactly.
But what advice are you giving?
We're saying there's no need to despair because there are ways around this. And the first thing is the structure. When we talk of the intangible assets, structure is one of them. Because beyond building the assets, what systems are in place, first for decision making within the family and for properly transferring these assets from one generation to the other. Usually we have a common situation where many businesses are built around certain individuals, the founders or a group of founders, and there isn't a priority for structures to ensure the seamless transfer. Another thing that we see is many founders, entrepreneurs often believe that the only way their children or their heirs can participate in the family businesses is by leading the business. And we're saying it does not have to be that way. There are many structures that still ensure the family participates in the business without the children being at the helm of affairs.
The CEO.
Absolutely. They can't be a part of it without being the sole people running it, because there are structures that you can put in place to achieve that.
So do you think attitude and other things got to change? It's a learning curve for it's a cultural thing.
Absolutely. First of all, there needs to be a change of perspective. We need to realize that if we're going to achieve multi-generational wealth, it's a long-term play, and we cannot think about it in the way that we have been doing in the past. And the truth is, there's data to back this up. According to the World Bank, the top 10 economies of the world actually focus or rely more on intangible capital than the bottom economies that rely overly on their natural resources. What we're seeing is that these economies prioritize things like transparency, processes, predictability of their systems and their policies, and it ends up creating trust, efficiency, and shorter transaction times that is helping these economies grow. But those economies that are overly reliant on their natural resources are not prioritizing these things, and there is a cost to that.
Interesting. So for a country like Nigeria, which is a developing economy, do you think if we do family business very well, we could actually be helping the economy? We've seen family businesses grow in the US, for example, and other economies becoming the pillars.
Family businesses in Nigeria as a developing economy plays such a critical role in our economy already. Yet these businesses are not even seeing their full potential because there are still issues around structure, there are still issues around succession planning, and these issues need to be dealt with.
Yeah, I get it. Succession planning and things like that. Especially when things are very rough right now.
Yes.
I think you're the one everyone is, one of those are coming to and say, hey, what's happening to my money? What happens tomorrow?
Absolutely. And what we are recommending at the Meristem Family Office, our focus is three-pronged. First of all, we want to protect what has been built. And then we want to preserve it for the next generation. And then we want to prevent the assets that have been built from harming those that it should benefit. Because many times we think of wealth, we do not think of its destructive ability when it is not properly structured. And that is a critical message that we are passing. You've built all these things. Human behavior is a significant factor, and if you do not create the right structure to mitigate the harm, then it could do more harm than good.
So, money isn't everything, is it?
No, it isn't.
Money isn't everything.
Money is fuel.
But I need money. We all need money. We all need money. Kemi, Ojenike, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Chief Operations Officer at Meristem Family Office. Thank you. Have a pleasant evening. Thank you for what you folks are doing.